The chain around my neck cracked with frost every time I breathed, and I knew tonight I was going to die. My name does not matter to you, because you cannot say it, but my brother's blood is on the snow beside me, and his chest still rises, just barely, so I keep my eyes open for him. We are the last two of our brood. The others died in the testing rooms weeks ago, screaming in a language our captors never bothered to learn. My brother and I were dragged out here, to this frozen dumping ground behind the research station, and chained to iron posts driven deep into the ice. They said we were failures, not strong enough, not useful enough. So they left us here, to finish dying on our own, to save themselves the trouble. The storm came 3 nights ago, and never stopped. My wings are useless now, torn and half frozen to my sides. My brother stopped trying to stand yesterday. I have not eaten in 11 days. I know this because I counted every sunrise through the gray clouds, waiting for the day the counting would stop mattering. The station behind us is dark. The creatures who ran it, the tall gray ones with their needles and their cages, left in a hurry a few days ago. There were explosions somewhere across the ridge, distant thunder that shook snow loose from the cliffs. I do not know what happened to them, and I do not care. Whatever destroyed them did not bother to destroy their chains. I hear something moving in the whiteout. At first I think it is the wind playing tricks, the way it does out here, howling through broken fences until it sounds like voices. But then I hear footsteps, slow and uneven, crunching through snow that should be too deep for anything small to cross. My brother lifts his head, just slightly. Even dying, he still watches for danger. That is what our kind does. We watch, we wait, we survive, or we do not. A shape appears through the white. It is small, smaller than the gray ones who tortured us, smaller than almost anything I have seen since I was taken from my home. It walks on 2 legs, wrapped in a torn silver suit that has lost most of its warmth, judging by the way its whole body shakes. It has no weapon that I can see. No cage, no needle. It stops when it sees us. I brace myself, ready to snarl, to make myself look larger, even though I have nothing left to back up the threat. My brother makes a low sound in his throat, a warning, though it comes out weaker than either of us wants. The figure does not run. It stands there in the storm, swaying slightly, and I realize it is close to collapsing itself. Its breath comes out in short white clouds. It raises one hand, slow, and pulls back the hood covering its head. It is human. I know the word only because I heard the gray ones say it once, spitting it like a curse, blaming the humans for the attack that scattered their forces days ago. They said humans were monsters, killers who burned through entire fleets without mercy. I expected teeth. I expected fire. I expected something worse than the creatures who caged me. Instead, I see a face, pale from the cold, with dark hair plastered against a young forehead. A woman, I think, though it is hard to be certain beneath the layers of frost and torn fabric. Her eyes move from me, to my brother, to the chains, to the blood staining the snow beneath us. She takes a step closer. I growl, low and rough, warning her away. My body may be broken, but my jaws still work, and if she comes close enough, I will not hesitate to use them, even now, even starving, even chained. She stops immediately, hands lifting again, palms open toward me. She says something. Her voice is hoarse, barely above a whisper, and I cannot understand the words, but the tone is soft. Careful, not like the sharp commands the gray ones used. She kneels down in the snow, just outside the reach of my chain, and waits. I do not know what to make of this. Every creature I have met in this cursed place has either hurt me or ignored me, while others did the hurting. This one simply waits, kneeling in a storm that could kill her in an hour, watching me with an expression I do not have a word for. It is not fear. It is not hunger for a trophy. It looks almost like sadness. My brother's breathing rattles. The sound pulls my attention away from her for a moment, and when I look back, she has moved slightly closer, close enough now that I could reach her if I lunged. She has taken something from a pouch at her side. A small device, cracked down the middle, with wires exposed along one edge. She taps it twice against her palm and holds it up near her mouth. When she speaks again, broken words stumble out in my own language, garbled and mispronounced, but understandable. Not hurt you, she says. Food. I have food. I stare at her. My brother lifts his head higher now, drawn by the words as much as I am. She reaches slowly into a bag strapped across her chest and pulls out a small metal container. She opens it with stiff, shaking fingers, and inside is dried meat, rationed survival food, the kind soldiers carry when nothing fresh can be found. She sets it on the snow between us and pushes it forward with one boot, then steps back immediately, giving space, giving me the choice. I do not move for a long moment. This could be another trick. The gray ones offered food before, laced with something that made our limbs go numb, so they could drag us to the testing rooms without a fight. I remember that lesson well. I will not fall for it twice. But my brother is not thinking of tricks. He is thinking only of survival, and before I can stop him, he drags himself forward on trembling legs and takes the food into his mouth. Nothing happens. No numbness. No collapse. Just relief, visible in the way his eyes close for one long second as the first real meal in days finally reaches his stomach. The woman watches him eat, and something in her face changes. Relief, maybe, or grief, I cannot tell which. She takes another container from her bag and holds it out toward me this time, though she does not come closer. I look at the food, then at her, then at the chain digging into the raw skin of my neck. Slowly, carefully, I stretch my head forward as far as the metal will allow, and she meets me halfway, setting the food just within my reach, before pulling her hand back fast, the way someone does when they know exactly how dangerous the thing in front of them is, but chooses to trust it anyway. I eat. It is not enough to heal us. It is barely enough to slow the dying, but it is something, and something is more than we had an hour ago. She stays there in the snow while we eat, arms wrapped around herself, teeth chattering loud enough that I can hear it over the wind. She should leave. She should find shelter before the cold takes her the way it is trying to take us. But she does not move. She watches us with those tired eyes, and after a while, she starts talking again, quiet words meant more for herself than for us, though the cracked translator picks up every one. She says she was part of a crew, soldiers, sent to shut down this station after learning what it did to creatures like us. She says the fighting went wrong. Her ship was damaged, forced down on the far side of the ridge, and most of her people did not survive the crash. She says she has been walking for 2 days, alone, following the smoke from the explosions, hoping to find someone left alive who needed help. She found us instead. I watch her closely as she speaks. There is no anger in her voice when she talks about her crew, no hatred when she mentions the gray ones who did this. Just tiredness, and a strange, stubborn kind of determination that keeps her upright even though her body is clearly failing. She stands, unsteady, and walks toward the post my chain is fastened to. My instinct screams at me to pull away, to snap at her hand before she can touch anything near my throat. But something in the way she moves, slow, deliberate, telegraphing every motion so I can see exactly what she intends, makes me hold still instead. She kneels by the frozen lock and pulls a small tool from her belt. Her fingers are shaking so badly from the cold that she fumbles it twice before getting a proper grip. She works at the frozen metal, breath fogging the air in short, ragged bursts, muttering something under her breath that sounds like counting, the way people do when they are trying to keep themselves calm. It takes a long time, long enough that I begin to worry she will freeze solid before she finishes. But finally, with a sharp crack of ice breaking apart, the lock gives way, and the chain falls loose from my neck. I do not move at first. I simply sit there, feeling the absence of that weight for the first time in weeks, staring at her as she moves immediately to my brother's chain, without waiting for thanks, without waiting for anything at all. His lock takes even longer. Her hands are worse now, red and white in patches, the early signs of frostbite setting into her fingers. I watch her work, and for the first time since I was taken from my home, I feel something other than fear or fury toward one of the creatures who share this world with us. When my brother's chain finally falls away, she sits back hard in the snow, breathing heavy, and for a moment, I think she might simply stop moving altogether, the way exhausted things sometimes do once the task that kept them going is finished. I move before I decide to move. I lower my head, the way our kind only ever does before our own bonded kin, and nudge her gently, careful of my teeth, careful of everything about me that could hurt something so small. She flinches at first, then goes still, staring at me with wide eyes as I press my head against her side, feeling the way her whole body shakes from cold that has gone past dangerous. My brother rises beside me, weak but steady enough now, and together we curl our bodies around her, blocking the worst of the wind with what remains of our torn wings, sharing whatever warmth our starved bodies can still produce. She laughs, a small broken sound, disbelief mixed with something warmer. She says our names do not matter to her either, that she will just call us by whatever comes to mind, and she settles back against me like she has known me for years instead of minutes. We stay like that as the storm worsens, all three of us pressed together against the cold, and for the first time in longer than I can remember, I do not feel like I am waiting to die. I feel like I am simply waiting. Hours pass. The woman drifts in and out of sleep, her breathing steadying slightly with the shared warmth, though I know it is not enough. Not nearly enough to save her if this storm does not break soon. My brother watches her with the same careful attention I do, and between us, without needing words, we agree on something. We cannot simply sit here and let her freeze after everything she has given us. I remember, faintly, through the haze of hunger and cold, a structure near the edge of the dumping ground. A maintenance shelter, half buried, used by the Gray Ones to store equipment before everything fell apart. It is not far. If we can reach it, it might offer enough shelter to keep her alive until the storm passes. I nudge her awake, gentle as I can manage, and when her eyes open, foggy with exhaustion, I turn my body sideways, lowering my shoulder as close to the ground as my stiff, wounded limbs allow. She stares at me for a moment, confused, until understanding dawns in her tired eyes. She has never ridden anything like me before. I can tell by the way she hesitates, one hand resting against my side like she is not sure I am real. But the cold does not wait for hesitation, and after a moment, she pulls herself up, gripping the ridges along my back with what strength remains in her frostbitten hands. My brother walks close beside us, using his body to block the worst of the wind, and together, slow and unsteady, we move through the storm toward the shape of the shelter I remember, praying to whatever still listens in this frozen place, that my memory has not failed me. The walk feels endless. Every step sends pain through my frozen joints, and more than once I feel her grip weaken against my back, her body sagging with exhaustion. I keep moving anyway, because stopping now means all of this was for nothing. My brother stumbles once, catching himself just before falling, and I slow my pace to match his, refusing to leave him behind, the way we were both once left behind by everyone who was supposed to protect us. Finally, through the white wall of snow, I see it, a low structure, half collapsed, but with enough of its roof intact to block the wind. I move toward it as fast as my legs allow, and the moment we reach the entrance, my brother pushes past me to check inside first, the way he always did, back when we were young, and the world was smaller and safer. It is empty, cold but dry, and blessedly still compared to the storm raging outside. I lower myself carefully, letting the woman slide down from my back onto a pile of old fabric scraps left behind by whoever once used this place. She curls into it immediately, shivering violently, and my brother presses himself against her other side without needing to be told, sharing warmth from both directions now. I settle in front of the entrance, blocking what little wind still finds its way inside, and for a long while none of us move. The storm howls beyond the broken walls, but inside, slowly, warmth begins to return. Her shivering eases, her breathing steadies. Somewhere in the darkness of that shelter, she reaches out one frost-bitten hand and rests it against my side, and I let her, because I understand now that this small gesture means more than any command the Gray Ones ever gave me. Morning comes slower than it should, the storm finally breaking sometime before dawn, leaving behind a sky the color of pale iron. Light filters through the cracks in the shelter's roof, and I wake to find her still there, still breathing, still alive, curled between my brother and me like she belongs there. She stirs when the light touches her face, blinking slowly, confused for a moment, before memory returns, and she remembers where she is, who she is with. She looks at us, really looks, taking in the wounds, the scars, the chains still lying broken in the snow outside, and something in her expression hardens into resolve. She says she is going to find help, not just for herself, but for us. She says there are others out there, more of her people, searching for survivors after the crash, and if she can reach them, she can bring them back. Bring proper food, proper care, whatever we need to actually heal, instead of just surviving one more day. I want to tell her not to go alone, that the storm may have passed but the danger has not, that the gray ones might still be out there somewhere, waiting. But I have no way to say these things, and even if I did, I do not think it would change her mind. She has already decided, the same stubborn determination from the night before, written clear across her face. She stands, unsteady, but stronger than she was hours ago, and presses one hand against my head before she leaves, a gesture I now understand as gratitude, as trust, as something close to what my own kind shares between bonded family. Then she is gone, walking out into the pale morning light, following the same ridge that brought her to us, leaving footprints in fresh snow that the wind has not yet erased. My brother and I watch until she disappears from sight, and for a while, neither of us moves, uncertain whether we will ever see her again. But something has changed in both of us during that long, cold night, something I do not think either of us fully understands yet. We were taught to fear this world, taught that everything in it wanted us dead, taught that kindness was a trick, and mercy did not exist beyond the walls of our own kind. She proved that wrong with nothing more than a cracked translator, a bag of rations, and hands too frozen to properly grip a tool, but too stubborn to stop trying anyway. Hours later, when the sound of engines finally breaks the silence over the ridge, when shapes appear against the horizon carrying warmth and medicine, and the promise of a future neither of us expected to have, I remember that moment in the storm, when a figure appeared through the white, and I thought, for one brief and terrifying second, that death itself had finally come to collect us. It was not death. It was simply a woman with nothing to gain and everything to lose, kneeling in the snow because somewhere, deep beneath the cold and the fear and the exhaustion, she believed that no one, not even two dying dragons chained to the edge of a world that had already given up on them, deserved to be left alone in the dark. And that, I have come to understand, is the truest kind of strength there is.